for the very resource that has fueled our way of life over the last 100 years, now threatens to destroy it if our generation doesn't act, and act boldly. We know what the dangers are here. We know that our oil addiction is jeopardizing our national security, that we fuel our energy needs by sending $800 million a day to countries that include some of the most despotic, volatile regimes in the world. We know that oil money funds everything from the madrasas that plant the seeds of terror in young minds to Sunni insurgents that attack our troops in Iraq. It corrupts budding democracies. It gives dictators from Venezuela to Iran the power to freely defy and threaten the international community. It even presents a larger target for Osama bin Laden, who has told al-Qaeda to, quote, focus your operations on oil, especially in Iraq and the Gulf area, since this will cause the Americans to die off on their own, unquote. We know that our oil dependency is jeopardizing our planet as well, that the fossil fuels we burn are setting off a chain of dangerous weather patterns that could condemn future generations to global catastrophe. And this city, Detroit, knows better than any what our oil addiction is doing to our economy. We're held hostage to the spot oil market, forced to watch our fortunes rise and fall with the changing price of every barrel. Gas prices have risen to record levels and could hit $4 a gallon in some cities this summer. Here in Detroit, three giants of American industry are hemorrhaging jobs and profits as foreign competitors answer the rising global demands for fuel-efficient cars. America simply cannot continue on this path. The need to drastically change our energy policy is no longer a debatable proposition. It's not a question of whether, but how. It's not a question of if, but when. For the sake of our security, our economy, our jobs, and our planet, the age of oil must end in our time. At the dawn of the internet age, it was famously said that there were two kinds of businesses. There are those that use email and those that will. Today, there are two kinds of car companies. Those that mass produce fuel-efficient cars and those that will. The American auto industry can no longer afford to be one of those that will. What's more, America can't afford it. Because the fact is, when the auto industry accounts for 1 in 10 American jobs, we all have a stake in saving those jobs. When our economy, our security, and the safety of our planet depend on our ability to make cleaner and more fuel-efficient cars, every American has a responsibility to make sure that happens. The auto industry's refusal to act for a long time has left it mired in a predicament for which there is no easy way out. But expensive to do is no longer an excuse for failure to do. The auto industry is on a path that is unsustainable for their business, for their workers, and for America. Currently, domestic automakers are disadvantaged by the requirement that their fleets have to meet the same overall fuel standards as foreign manufacturers, even though U.S. companies sell a much broader array of vehicles. We all know that absent some assistance, the significant costs associated with retooling parts and assembly plants could be prohibitive for companies that are already struggling and shedding workers. My goal is not to destroy the industry, but to help bring it into the 21st century. So if the auto industry is prepared to step up to its responsibilities, then we as a country should be prepared to help. That's why my proposal would provide generous tax incentives to help automakers upgrade their existing plants in order to accommodate the demands of producing more fuel-efficient vehicles. We've heard for years that the spiraling cost of health care for retired auto workers constrains manufacturers from investing in more fuel-efficient technology. We also know the statistic. Healthcare costs currently account for $1,500 of every GM car. So here's the deal. We'll help to partially defray those healthcare costs, but only if the manufacturers are willing to invest the savings right back into the production of more fuel-efficient cars and trucks. But the truth is, if we hope for another miracle out of Detroit, we have to do both. We must demand that they revamp their production, we must assist that transition, and we must make the choice to buy these cars when we have the option. All of us have a responsibility here. All of us are required to act. In the days and months after September 11th, Americans were waiting to be called to something larger than themselves. Just like their parents and grandparents of the greatest generation, so many of us were willing to serve and defend our country, not only on the fields of war, but on the home front too. This is our generation's chance to answer that call, meeting the challenge posed by our dependence on oil won't require us to build the massive war machine that Franklin Roosevelt called on so many years ago. But it will require the same sense of urgency, the same sense of shared sacrifice and responsibility from all of us, not just the auto industry, not just its incredibly hard-working workers here in Detroit, but oil companies in Texas, power plants from New Jersey to California, legislators in Washington, farmers who are going to have to make adjustments to get even better biofuels, and consumers in every American city and town. It's time for all of us to head back to the factories and universities, to the boardrooms and the halls of Congress, so we can roll up our sleeves and find a way to get this done. I am ready and willing to lead all of us there as your next president, and I hope you're willing to join me in the journey towards that great next American miracle.